Hi, it's Nick for Be Thankful Farm. It's Memorial Day, and I just wanted to give you a quick look around the farm so you can see what we've been up to. We've been busy. We got a lot of plants in the ground and a lot more planting to do. So we wanted to give you a quick tour. Hey, how's it looking?
Looks great. What do you got growing here? So,
Yeah, so we've got our lettuce is looking good.
what kind of lettuce you got here?
We've got 4 different varieties of all. They're all leaf lettuces. They're all different types, and so you can make a nice salad mix. Yeah, and then we've been planting like crazy. So we got carrots here. It's a carrot bed. You can see some little baby radishes here. We got some radishes coming up, and this is a beet bed. We've got some standard beets here, purple beets, and we got some golden beets. Up we got turnips. We've got some new kale.
New kale.
Yep, some new baby kale there. And we've got some celery over there that came in early. That will have to get watered. He looks a little dry. We've got some Swiss chard up there. So yeah, we're making great progress. It's been so dry. It's been so dry. We're probably approaching the drought condition again.
Really?
Yeah, and because we also missed out on all the snow melt. We had no snow melt, and we've had very limited rain. And even when it's rained, it's been like not a heavy soaking rain. This ground is extremely dry. It's like July dry out here.
You have the ability to water your whole, every field?
We get a great well. We get 30 gallons per minute. This is really the only place I use overhead irrigation, like on these types of plants with direct seeding. Usually I'm using the drip irrigation with the tapes with my plug plants. But this just works better with this type of a, trying to get seeds to germinate. Oh, nothing really beats the overhead, I don't think. This is field 2, and it's Memorial Day, and we've got this field pretty much all planted out. We've got one more row to go. We can probably squeeze some more crop here, but we're on top of it. It was dry enough that we were able to get in here and get our beds made quicker. So we've got our onions in. We've got 3 rows of onions here, 3 different types. As you can see, they're on a drip line. So as dry as it's been, I've been running water through these, and the plastic keeps the water in the bed. There's no way for the water to get out other than like through the plant or through this little hole. So the water is really nice. You can maintain perfect moisture, and it's a minimal use of water because it stops the evaporation. And you're putting the water right down into the roots of the plant instead of with a sprinkler where you're shooting it up in the air. So it's a good conservative use of the water. Black plastic will warm the soil because the onions like that. And the white plastic cools the soil because these crops like that. These are our cold crops, brassicas, crucifers, whatever you want to call them. We've got our cauliflower, and we've got cabbage, and we got some more cauliflower, we got some more cabbage. I think that's all we did. We alternated them here. So we've got some purple. It's all the white cauliflower. We have most luck with that. But yeah, this plastic is going to keep the soil moist, and it's going to keep the soil cooler when the heat comes. And these plants like that. They'll grow slower. It's a cold-loving plant, a cool-loving plant. They'll grow slower. They won't go bolty. They'll make a firmer head. They'll put a firmer head on the cauliflowers and the cabbages too. This is a native plant here, this wild plant, and it looks to actually like a radish or some type is related to them, like a turnip type of plant, a wild one though. And whenever we see this, we let this go on the farm because it's awesome, and the bees love it. Honeybees and the wild bees are all over this plant. It's a volunteer, and while we do try to mow, we never mow that down though. We'll go around that for sure. I'll pop their heads up here too, so they'll run up this trellis. Weeds out of here. But here they'll have no competition from weeds. And again, it keeps it nice and warm, and they'll hop on this trellis, and we should get a lot of nice. These are the long, flat Oregon giant flat snow pea. We've seen them in Chinese food. You have them in salads. You can eat them raw. They're really good. So it looks like this is kind of, you can't miss with this one. We got good germination and there's enough plants here. We'll fill in these holes with some more plants, but this is pretty much is a go. So we'll have, that crop should come in. And the rest of these guys look pretty healthy too. They all look good. There was, we had an attack of the flea beetles early on, came into the crop and they were eating the leaves up and they really would have destroyed these. And a tiny little beetle that hops around like a flea. So I did spray them and I put an insecticidal soap on them. And that was enough. That was enough to get rid of them. That knocked their numbers down enough. It was basically soap. We sprayed that on them and they didn't like that. Yeah, and it killed most of them. And I might have to do it again. I can still see some more chew on some of these. But when it gets hot, that flea beetle will go away. That'll burn them out. So if you can keep them numbers down, keep your numbers down till the heat, you're okay. It'll get on the body of the insect. You're really trying to hit the insect with it. And it'll basically, it clogs him. Because they breathe through spiracles in their body, and if you coat their cuticle with the soap, that's enough to kill them. That ends up with a lot of crop in a small little area here. If you think about how much, I'll show you the numbers later, for how much poundage we get in this area. We call this one Field 3. This is the hill field. This one's a little over 1/4 of an acre. And we've got 2 nice beds of strawberries here in their first season. And they're thick. There's a lot of them. We've already been through it once weeding. We'll have to go through again. There's no plastic here. Lots of times strawberries are growing on plastic. I like it better this way because you can make a bigger, wider row because you can root your little runners. So you can get better productivity. You just have to get in there and do a lot of weeding. Unfortunately, I have great workers and they're able to do that. We're using straw on the outside for mulching. And now we use this hill field again to squeeze in even some more brassica crops for you. Because the ones we didn't have up there, which is broccoli, along this row, 130 feet. And this one is the Brussels sprouts. This plant I really do get, and this one is broccoli. And I know how to cut the heads off early on these plants and then nurture them for those side shoots and keep pulling the side shoots off. You take that head off quick, all the energy goes to those side shoots, and then you cut those off and they just keep coming and it becomes like a broccoli factory. And I just keep harvesting this same row over and over again every week. You come through, you're just taking a couple of small side heads off each one after you take the first one. You can see what we've started doing over here too, is we're putting cardboard between the rows. And we're throwing wood chips down on top of the cardboard as a way of keeping these weeds down without adding extra heat into the soil. Sometimes I will use black plastic, water permeable black plastic, if I want to bring heat into the soil. In this case, that's not what I'm looking to do. So you use the cardboard and the chips. And it's a good way to recycle the cardboard. This is cardboard that was going to end up in the waste stream. Even if it was going to be recycled, it still had to be dealt with and chopped up, etc.
And why is cardboard so good for a mulch like that?
Well, that's all it is wood fiber, right? So we got wood chips on wood fiber. So you got here, it's a great way to put it right back in the soil. It's really about suffocating the weeds, because if you put the wood chips on top of the weeds, you're just basically mulching the weeds, and the weeds come up through it and they're happier than ever. So this way you can deprive them of their photosynthesis, suffocate them underneath it, and this holds it in place. And then as it all breaks down, you've now got a nice mulch, and now you're enriching the soil in the field as well at the same time. So win-win-win, cycle, you know. So we're going to do more of that here. But over here we did not use the cardboard because I'm using this heat-seeking plastic here because I want a lot of heat. I'm seeking heat on this side of the field. And I'm going to grow muskmelons in this row the whole way down. And this plant wants the more heat the better. So that's what this thing is right here, is a passive solar heat collector for the melons as they grow on this bed. Yeah, this is a different kind of plastic on it. This is a green plastic. This is the only bed I have this on this farm. It's a specialty plastic. It's called an IRT mulch, infrared transmitting mulch. So what this one can do is it lets the infrared energy through it, and it helps to, there's a lot of energy, and helps to heat the soil. Whereas black plastic does not do that. Black plastic, standard black plastic, blocks that and heats the soil by conductivity. The plastic gets hot, it's touching the soil, conducts the heat. This one lets the infrared energy through, near infrared energy, which adds the even more heat. So believe it or not, the green plastic is hotter than the black plastic, which seems counterintuitive, but it is. And the person who developed this plastic was Dr. Brent Loy at UNH, and he was looking for a plastic to make the soil as hot as possible for his melon, because he's actually a plant breeder. The guy who made the plastic, because he's the world's greatest plant breeder, Brent Loy, of melons and squash. And he wanted something really hot for his melon, in particular Sarah's Choice. And of all the melons out there that grow, every year that's the one I grow for my muskmelon. And Sarah's Choice muskmelon and this infrared transmitting mulch, it's a team. Brent put that together. And so I'm giving away the secret now here. This is how you want, if you want to grow melons, is you use this Brent's melons and Brent's plastic. He was my advisor at UNH. I was fortunate enough to be to work with him and be his assistant when I was there. So I learned a lot from those guys. This is corn. But we've already got some seed in here too. We'll continue seeding these beds here to stagger the harvest just a little bit. So we got corn in here. And since they like the heat too, so they're right off to the side here, this little heat side of the bed. Excellent. So this bed is, this field, a garden again, is pretty much full. Oh, except for one thing, I think we left out this row. This is where our summer squash bed will go in here.
When does that get planted?
Pretty soon, but this is a black plastic, but you don't want to push it. It's Memorial Day weekend and people are planting that stuff now, but it's still not right. And the soil really should be 70 degrees, the soil temperature, before you seed. And the air temperature isn't even 70 degrees. So soil temperature certainly isn't, even with the black plastic. It's hotter under there than it is in that strawberry bed, but still not hot enough. We got a couple of really hot days coming this week. We've got like the first 90 day coming in a couple of days, so that'll heat this up. But I'm still might hold off because it's going to cool off after that. So I have thermometers, not my thermometers in here, because I don't plant my melons or my squashes till I get to that 70. I've learned you could just reseed. You could reseed, but I also don't want plants growing and germinating in cool temperatures either. The melons like to come out with a bang in the hot weather and grow fast, the seedlings. So you're much better off waiting a little bit with your melons and your squashes before you seed. Patience, in that case, is patience where it works, is a virtue. That's that whole field. That field's filled. Wow, what an aroma. Yeah, that's my favorite flower, I would have to say, an apple blossom.
I could smell it all the way over here.
Yeah, apple blossom. They say, what's your favorite flower? And you get an apple out of it. Not only you get the beautiful flower and the aroma, then you get an apple. This is Jonathan. These are the early ones. These two here, that one. These will make the first apples for us. They're in pretty good shape. Not a lot of disease. I don't see a lot of spotting on the leaves. There's not a lot of brown petals. You look for that. Browning on your petals means you could have like a blight, like a fire blight. So you have to look for that. I always have to be scouting. See, there's a little bit here. If you want to take a look over here. So you can see like a little bit brown right there. That's not an accident that's there. What happened was a fungal attack occurred here. So a couple of funguses landed, spores, and they're growing in this in the petals of that flower.
And so what do you do about it?
Remove that. If you see it, you remove it. What it would do is it would get into the fruit, would destroy the fruit. It can then actually get into the wood itself, and then it can move right through the tree. And fire blight is a disaster in orchards if it's unchecked. It can kill your trees really, really terribly. Yep, you've got to keep your eye out for that. I don't see much of that. It's really, really clean. We're gonna do the second half of the fertilization now. It's a split application of fertilizer. They got the first application in mid-April, and now it's mid to late May, and you give them the second part of the split application.
And tell me about the fertilizer you use here.
What I'm using this season is they're gonna get some calcium nitrate. I'm gonna give them a little less than the recommended amount because the growth has been good. And I don't want them to get too spindly and put on a lot of quick growth because that's the diseases really eat. This young, fresh growth. You don't want too much young, fresh growth, and nitrogen will do that. But they need the calcium. They want the calcium, so you give them the calcium nitrate. Calcium helps make a nice firm apple. That's what makes the crunchiness in fruits of the calcium. So you want to make sure they are up on that. And then they'll also get some Sulpomag, a pound of Sulpomag, sulfur, potassium, magnesium. And you'll give that pretty much every season. Even if you don't give your calcium or nitrate, because you're getting enough nitrogen, you still almost every season come back with that. Magnesium, very important nutrient in plants and as well. So they'll get that. They get that every season. And you know the way to know how much you give them is by the size of the diameter of the tree. About a foot off the ground, you look at the size of it, and depending how many inches wide it is, will tell you how much fertilizer to give to the tree. And then give it in a circle around the tree. Out and around the drip line is where you would put it, all the way around. And that'll be it for the season. No further fertilization after May. Then you get late growth. You don't want that. Stuff that you could end up with too much late growth, which won't harden off, makes the tree unhealthy going into the winter. So no further fertilization after this last blast.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, these are pear trees. Their blossoms are already off back here. They bloom earlier. But there are some pears on these trees. There sure are pears. So we'll see how many will pollinate it enough that we'll be able to make it to harvest. There are pears. Can you see that?
Nice.
That's a pear.
Below where the flower was.
Exactly right. Very good. Good observation. Yep. It's the ripened ovary of the flower.
Which, if left to nature, would be the seed pod. Is that correct?
Correct. The seeds form within the fruit. Yep.
Very nice. Beautiful, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pear trees are very pretty. This is a Bartlett pear tree, Wes. This one right here. She's like a showroom piece. You can see she's got the perfect shape. She's like a specimen ornamental tree. But she's gonna make a lot of fruit this year. She's about 8 years old. And the shape, this really nice shape where it's open, all the limbs are kind of coming out away from the tree, like a 60-degree angles, with a lot of openings for light to get down into the tree. That's what you're going for when you're pruning this tree. And this is not an accident. It takes a lot of pruning, and it took a lot of pruning and use of these limb spreaders. If you can see in here, you use these spreaders, you put them in when you're doing your winter pruning, and you can force the branch out, and then I'll take that out in another month or so, and the wood will have already formed, and it'll just hold that position for me. So by doing that all around the tree, selective pruning, like your little bonsai tree, you can end up with a nice shape. And you can see the reward for it now. There's a lot of fruit forming. So we've got a lot of light in here. If the light doesn't hit on the fruit, you're not gonna get fruit set, fruit development. So we've got good pollination for all of these pear trees here. They all seem to be holding a lot of fruit. But this one just has a really great shape. They don't always have that. Like this one's been a challenge, as you can see. She's got some weirdness going on. And it's been harder to get the branches out. He keeps wanting to just go straight up and down. And I can remove these next year, I'll get rid of these. Maybe get this one down. Work on this one. But she does have a lot of fruit though. A lot of fruit set. Okay, well we got 2 hives here. This one you can see is larger than that one. This is a 2-year-old hive, and that's a 1-year-old hive. Or actually a brand new hive, not a 1-year-old. They're in their first year. We just set that hive up last week. So I purchased bees from a bee retailer. I drove down to Hudson and got them, and he gets them, brings them up, a tractor trailer full at a time for local beekeepers from the south. So they're bred down in the southern states, Georgia, in the Carolinas, and then they get driven up here in tractor trailers in the spring, and then the beekeepers from up on our region, we all go and buy them. They used to be able to get them in the mail, but now the U.S. mail will not deliver them. Nobody will deliver bees. So this
Because
is
they get stung, or?
believe it or not, it was because the feeders, the boxes that the bees come in, have a sugar feeder in it. Because they have to be able to feed. And if they fall over, the sugar will get everywhere. So that's why they stopped having us be able to get our bees from the mail, because they said it made a mess with the sugar water.
I see.
So you get like, I think it's a 3 pounds of bees and a queen.
Wow.
Yeah. And but you have your own. All the rest of my stuff is my own. The equipment is mine. The frames, which are in the inside. We'll do a beekeeping thing sometime. I'll show you.
Cool.
But both hives look good, and this hive's working really hard. So we're gonna ask them to make honey for us. We're gonna put a what's called a honey super, another box on the top here, and see if they're gonna be able to make some excess honey for us. They're really here, Wes. Mainly, my bees is for pollination. We have fantastic fruit, everything. The squashes, the peppers, the apples, the strawberries, the blueberries are so good because of the bees, the pollination. Without full pollination, you don't get a full apple. You don't get a nice berry without the pollination or the squash. Yeah, so we got these peppers in today. We just got these in. These are jalapeno. This tunnel's 92 feet long. So that goes the whole length of the tunnel. And the tunnel creates a lot of heat during the day, of course, even when the sides are rolled up and it's hot out. So a lot of heat is constantly being pulled out the side. It seemed to be a nice place for the jalapenos. They like the extra heat. You can feel heat blowing on them right now. And we get a really nice yields. I just want to show you, we also have several different types of peppers. Those are jalapenos. Here are the Cubanelle. Cubanelle is also known as the sweet Italian frying pepper. That sounds good.
Yum, it sure does.
Those words go well together. So the sweet Italian frying pepper, and we got a whole bunch of those, and there's some standard green blocky peppers, and we haven't planted yet the purple peppers because they're really small still, the plugs, and I didn't want to put them out for that 89 and 90 degree day. It seemed a little too harsh for them. These plants were bigger and stronger, so we put them out, and I'll get this irrigation running for them before the heat comes. So we'll water them in. And then we still haven't, again, we have not planted the beans, and we have not planted like cucumbers because we're waiting for more heat in the soil and in the air. And then again with the potatoes, we'll be finishing our tillage for potatoes. We're getting really close to potato planting time. Yeah.
I'm here with Nick Karakoudas of Be Thankful Farm. Look at the hawk.
Yeah, nice.
And Nick, I showed the first video we did to a few of my friends, and I got the following question, which is, how do you grow so much for so long?
That's a common question. But how do you grow so much food on only so much land and over that extended period of time? As on local garden, in your home garden, oftentimes you do all your planting now, Memorial Day, and then you get all your product, and then the season's over. But that's not what we're doing here. It's just all about knowing how to sequentially plant and how to grow things that you can harvest and then harvest again. A lot of cut and come again, a lot of planting. When a crop is done, you pull and you replant and use that bed again. Many beds get used twice during the course of a season. So it's just having some good knowledge about timing of your crops. And of course at the same time you have to have proper nutrition the whole way through for the plants, because you're asking a lot of your soils
to be able to feed these plants and be that productive in that small of an area. So keeping a real close eye on nutrition and sequential planting, and you can do it. It can be done, and will grow through the whole season. And you eat right along with the calendar. You're eating what's available at your climate for that day, for that time of year. So yeah, it's good.
And you're now full with 54 families?
We have 54 families that will be growing fall this year, and yep,
Great.
looking forward to it, and it's been a good start. So,
Excellent.
I have an excellent team this year.
And it looks beautiful. It really looks
Thanks, Wes.
like it's you're going to have a big harvest. So if you have questions for Nick the Farmer of A Farmer's Journal, please don't hesitate to send them to the email address below, and we'll try and get to them and answer them. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.